Yo, we are at day 21. I think it is. 21, yes. Should actually check that. Yeah, welcome to the 21st video that I've been doing on YouTube. These videos are for me to essentially practice in front of the camera and to share my journey along the way, share a bit about my life, share a bit about everything that's going on around behind the scenes. And yeah, ultimately it's to help you to do your own stuff on YouTube. If you're having any challenges that you're facing in regards to moving forward, and to really embrace the thing that you really want to do, if it's what you want to do. And yeah, hopefully able to shine some sort of light on that, or offer any sort of perhaps guidance or some reflections. And so this journey had started about a year ago or so. I started doing these Instagram story challenges, and I thought about it. I was like, you know what, I'm gonna do one. I did a 30-day challenge, and initially I was fucking terrified of the camera. And I would record it. Sometimes I'd record the thing a few times over, and I was like, I'm done with this. It's time for the first takes, and just let it come out. Whatever it sounds like, all the imperfections and all of those things, I just allow them to be there. And so I started working through this. And then actually, hold that thought. The first program I actually did as a group program, because I wanted to be held accountable. So I ended up doing a free thing for a handful of people, and we went through 30 days. And yeah, that was really cool. It was cool to have like the camaraderie and the group to do that sort of thing. So everyone's cheering each other on, everyone's sharing each other's stories. And the story thing was only a minute, so that was the limit. You record 1 minute story per day, because for some people that's enough. And it can be quite, let's say, it can be quite a challenge to do simply 1 minute on a video each day, especially to people that you know as well. Because especially with social media, Instagram, there's a lot of people on there that you will know. Whereas YouTube is a bit different. There's not really anyone on here that knows who you are. And so looking at those differences, yes, the challenge is actually in being ourselves and being authentic in a setting where there are people that we know. And sometimes it can be really valuable to practice it before. Say, for example, YouTube, practicing on here, this is why I'm doing these 30-minute long videos. I'll be doing more stuff that's longer form on Instagram after this. It's kind of like we pick up skills from different areas and shift them along. You know, we could just jump straight in and start doing them on there. And that's up to each person to decide how that works and how you want to do that. Ultimately, I was like, after I did a couple of these story challenges, it's like, it's time to level it up. And so that's why I'm doing these, the 30-minute ones, because yeah, it's pretty edgy to begin with. And if you're someone who's been who's been recording YouTube videos for ages, well, it's not going to feel like a challenge for you at all, because it's just normal. Like now these videos are becoming normal for me. So it's like that transition period, the awkward phase, and not really knowing what to say, not knowing what to do, not knowing what angles look good. There's so many things, like the lighting. Is the lighting okay? Am I in focus? Am I centered in the video? Where to place the camera? Do I place it at like my eye height? Do I place it a bit above, a bit below? I mean, I've been experimenting with all of it a little bit, finding that perfect balance of, I guess, just what I want and what, when I look back on it and go, cool, that looks sweet. And so, yeah, when you're doing this sort of thing, realize that there's actually there's quite a lot of components there. There are a lot of new things to get used to, especially if you're not used to the camera. There is the posting side of things. There is all of the expectations based off all of the YouTube videos that you've watched. For example, you go through YouTube and there are like a lot of professional videos on there. So it can feel like, oh, if I were to post on YouTube, it would need to be really good quality, because that's what people talk about. To make a big impact on YouTube, you need to have basically, you got to have a strategy. You got to have a, good quality, high quality videos. And there's a number of other things. This involves cutscenes and moving it along and cutting out filler sounds and empty space and all of that. And it's like, sure. And it's not realistic for the person who's just starting. The person who's just starting, they're flat out pressing record on a video on the camera. So when we're taking these step-by-step things, it can be really valuable to note where you want to be, where you want to get to, also how that person got to where they are. Because some people, you may not have seen their entire journey. Hell, you like watch a Mr. Beast video, it's like, he didn't start there. He didn't start doing these like massive production videos. It's completely unrealistic. And if you compare yourself to that, you're setting yourself up for failure. Now you can use it as a directional bit of guidance towards where you're going. That's all that other people can do for you. Actually, an example for me, as a musician for years, I'd always had these grandiose visions. I was like, I want to be like this person. I wanted to be like Jeff Buckley. I wanted to be like, even though he's dead, I wanted to be like him. I wanted to have the wow factor that he has. And there was tons of other musicians that I was in awe of. And by me doing this, what was happening was I was outsourcing my own integrity and, let's say, my measuring stick internally based off the people that I saw that I wanted to be like. And I couldn't see any separation except for, how can I be more like them? This is a big trap. We start trying to be like people. For example, my hair's thinning. I could compare myself to someone who has long, thick, luxurious hair and say, I want to be more like them. Yet that's, if we go off the visual basis and some of the identity that surrounds having long hair, which is, I used to have really long hair down to like here. And I realized like that's an identity. What happens once you don't have that ability anymore? There's certain things that we can't hold on to. And now, this is an interesting one. This is an interesting part about aging. And as we grow older, we can choose to be wiser if we choose to do the work, or we can just choose to know more stuff. What can happen is we get stuck in the beliefs of what we were when we were 20 or when we were 15, 10, 5. All of these things and things that we've created over the years become our identity. So when I had long hair, I identified as someone with long hair. I was like, surfer dude, surfer, musician, long hair. And that was my identity. And it's taken a long time to actually shift that. And now, so if I were to aspire to be a musician that has long hair and is a really good musician and singer, maybe their vocal range is different to mine. Maybe their songwriting ability is different to mine. Maybe their approach to writing songs as to where they derive their inspiration from is different to mine. The way in which they work through their lives, maybe they're alcoholics, maybe they're not alcoholics, maybe they shoot heroin, maybe they are whatever, there could be a whole range of things. And so by wanting to aspire to be someone who's a rock star and a heroin addict, it's probably not going to be the best fitting identity for you. Otherwise you're going to fall into something pretty bad. It's not really going to serve you too well. And you're not really going to like who you've become, because you set out to become someone else instead of yourself. Now, if you set out to be the most of yourself, then we're running a different ball game here. Completely different. And the way that I see these things as far as skills and talents that we can build. We can build, for example, in the realms of music. Instead of aspiring to be that person, that's the deepest rabbit hole, then you can aspire to be like that person. A little bit less, still kind of identity attached. What happens if you were to say, I want to express with the same level of authenticity that they do? With the same level of, let's say you're drawn to vocal acrobatics. That's what I was drawn to with Jeff Buckley. I love the way he moves his voice around. Yet if I start doing that more and more and more, I'll start adapting to his style and I'll start sounding like Jeff Buckley. And it's like, to the point that people at gigs will tell me that it sounds like an influence. And that's true. It's part of the whole journey. And now it's like really urge you to move out of that trap, especially when you go into this YouTube space. Like if you can choose to be you in every area of your life, choose to be the most you possibly can. And a way to view this is whatever you do, and it may take you some time to get here, that's okay. Everything that you do is you. You just happen to be a car salesman. You just happen to be a football player. You just happen to be a musician. You just happen to be a coach. You happen to be an influencer. They're things that you happen to be. And at the core, you're you. You never stop being you. The only thing that's going to shift that is if you deflect everything that's you in favor of other things. Materialism, all of that, the consumer culture that we're in at the moment. It's like, oh, I want to be like her. I want to be this person, this influencer. It's like, it's fucking bullshit. And if you're following someone that's telling you to, be anything other than yourself, subtly, or outright, or directly, they're not worth your time, because they're going to try and mold you. And it's not their fault. It's your responsibility to choose these things, because everyone that you've chosen to be in your life is shaping who you are to some extent. So do the people around you want you to be more of you, or do they just say they want you to be more of you? Does it feel like they want you to be more of you? You'll know this if it starts feeling a little bit icky when you hang around certain people, or you feel drained after hanging around certain people, especially as an introvert. You can spend a lot of time around people and go, it doesn't feel good around this person. I feel like I'm not being myself. Again, not the fault of the other person. It's your responsibility to choose whether you're going to be you in each moment. And if you can't around certain people, Maybe it is because they're not good for you. Maybe there's some time to be spent away from them so that you can actually find out who you are without their influence. Because once you spend time away from people that you've been around a lot, you spend time in your own space, spending time around people that you aspire to be like. I say aspire to be like, not be them. They have things, attributes and skills and qualities that you really love. When you return back to those groups, those circles of people, they're going to want you to change back to who they remember you being. They're going to try all sorts of tactics. You're not cool. Oh, it's like, what's the one? You used to be cool. And yeah, I've had quite a lot of that. There's kind of like there'll be certain phrases that people say. For example, the group that I used to hang out with, they used to call me stall. Like, because I would turn up late to parties and everything. I would just turn up late. And this became an identity. So every time I would start to, oh, that's really cool. I've forgotten about that story until now. When they would reinforce that belief of me not being on time. And so that became an identity, and they would reinforce that. And it would be this kind of like, yeah, it reinforces it over and over and over again, to the point that when I'm around them, I just accept it. Now, spending time away from them, when I came back, and I felt that some of them would use that terminology again, and I was like, I don't want to enter into this rapport with you right now. And because it feels grating on who I am now. And so I end up just kind of going like, whatever, or deflecting it or something like that. It took a while to start being accustomed to not accepting labels that people put upon me. It can happen if you were seen as dumb or even smart. If someone puts a label on you and says that you're smart, what happens if you want to ask a question? What if that question seems dumb? You're like, this is kind of a silly question. Maybe I better not ask it. I don't want to be seen as dumb. And the reality is that in that moment, that person, they may not even know it. They're seeing you being dumb. You think you can hide it. And then you don't ask the question to the thing that you wanted answers to. And then who's dumb then? So you actually end up creating what you fear, which is fearing looking dumb. And yet this is actually something that was brought up to me around Joe Rogan. He does this thing where, this is why he's so good at what he does. I think it was Jordan Peterson might have talked about it. It was in reference to something that Jordan Peterson mentioned. He might not have said these words. So the concept is that Joe essentially plays the role of the dumbest person in the room. And I mean this with the utmost respect. He assumes that he's ignorant about just about everything. He'll chime in about things and he will flip between them. His interview style is like, assume that he knows nothing. And he asks all of the questions that he thinks the listeners will want to hear. So he asks every stupid question. And by asking every stupid question, he gets the best answers out of the people he's interviewing. And so it's like, who's really dumb? The one not asking the dumb questions, or the one asking the dumb questions and learning? I guarantee that Joe has learnt a lot more by asking those dumb questions than he has about asking smart questions. And sure, yeah, you get better at asking questions and you can adapt to the person who is being interviewed. those dumb questions. It's like, this is what I noticed. Actually, I did a podcast episode. It's on my Spotify. It's called Masters of Attention. And I will be commencing that after this 30 days. And I'll be getting back into that because it's time. And I was sitting there with my friend, someone who I've known for years, and practicing interviewing. And it was like this, I felt like I needed to ask all the smart questions. Instead of really sitting in that space, because I realized once I have him in the room, I've known him for years, and yet there's questions that I could ask him that I could learn more about his approach to life and how he views things by being in that dumb, ignorant space of going, you know what, I'm going to pretend that I know you. And also there's tons of stuff I don't know about you. So now is the chance I'm going to ask you all those questions. And so I didn't do that in the first episode. I will be doing that in following ones. Big lesson. And it goes the same for people in your life. I'm constantly confronted by this, like projecting things at people and assuming that I know everything about someone's life, which I don't. It's like, none of us do. And so it is the most arrogant thing that we could possibly do, is to assume that we know everything about someone's life. Assume we know how to fix their life. Assume that we know, maybe we can see the problems that they have. Maybe we can see that they're in pain. We don't have all the answers. So there's no point in pretending that we have all the answers. We just end up looking stupid. We end up looking arrogant, idiotic, looking like we're essentially just don't listen. And what will happen in a conversation is, if you've got certain views that you want to impart upon this person to help them, they will not receive them at all, because that person just perceives that you're trying to fix them, because you are. And not actually listening to what's going on for them. It's a tough one to learn, especially when we get into coaching and teaching and learning new things, and we've got a head full of information and we just want to share it with the world. And it's like, yes, share it with the world in the right place, in the right time. It's having discernment and looping back into the identity. This is what I was talking about in the beginning, the whole identity around knowing things. That can be a trap too. That if your identity is being smart, it's knowing things. If you're always the smartest person in the room, you're not evolving, are you? Being the smartest person in the room does not evolve you as a human. Now you can use this in two different ways. You could point the blame at the other people in the room and say that they don't know as much as you and you can learn nothing from them. Or you can turn around to the other people in the room and go, you know what? Maybe they know something I don't know. Because if you're truly intelligent, if you're truly smart, you'll ask more questions. Because true intelligence is ever growing. It's always evolving. It's always curious. It's always expanding. It's always looking for new approaches to things, to how to deepen within our awareness of this world. And unfortunately, if we get stuck in identities, we can't see the bigger picture. We label everything. We go, okay, this is a water bottle. As soon as I label that thing, I don't see that thing anymore. I just see a water bottle. When I look at this camera, I can see this camera as, or the phone as a phone. I can label it as a phone. By labeling it as a phone, what am I missing out? I'm missing out the fact that it's also a camera, that it also has the ability to connect to the internet, that it also is a form of connection to other people in the world. That I can speak to anyone in the world, and you can do that. That it's a complete marvel of creation. It's incredible. And so your phone may go slow one day. Maybe you expect it to be fast all of the time. Maybe it's slow one day. You're like getting frustrated. It's like, what are you missing? What are you not seeing? It's like, maybe the storage is full. And the point I'm making here is that by labeling things as we see them when we first see them doesn't help us to actually dive deeper into what it truly is. This is with a person. This is with inanimate objects. This is with yourself. This is with a future endeavor. If you're going to do something new within your life and try something new, like, what's at the core of it? How can you get to the heart of the matter and really learn, like, see through it all and go, what is it that I really want to do? Do I want to make really cool videos? It's like, yeah, cool. What's underneath that? And that's fine. Then it's like, well, you can say making really cool videos, or you could say, I want to express myself through making really cool videos. Okay, cool. What's the key point there? Is express myself. The cool videos are something that can come later. They can come in the beginning as well, depending on your skill set and all of that sort of thing. And again, I would ask you, if you were wanting to start something, what's more important to you? To express consistently or to have a perfect product? I heard this one analogy that was, I'm going to start memorizing and writing down certain quotes when I hear them so I can get them right from the original source. This is going to be the Chinese whispers version. So paraphrasing, there was two teams of people, and both teams were given a task to create a mug, a pottery mug. Now, one team was tasked to spend the 30 days and create the best mug they could after that time. The second team were told to make as many mugs as possible over that time period. Any guesses as to who made the better mug? The other team, the one that had more to make. Because the first team, they made one. They engineered it, they made it all perfect, and they get the mug and it was like, cool, it's a mug. But this other team had made infinitely more, or however many more. And they were able to refine their technique. They were able to practice the thing from beginning to end. So in that we actually develop a muscle memory. We get used to finishing things. We set up a dopamine response where we go, oh, cool, that's great. Now, this is where it comes in with the law of refinement. Because the more we do something, the more we can actually refine it, and we can become better and better and better at it. Whereas if I were to say, oh, I'm going to make the perfect video and release one video a month. Yeah, that's cool. I'm going to get more refinement out of my delivery and all of that by focusing every day. And it's the same thing I tell my guitar students and my vocal students. The things that we practice every day are the things we become good at every single day. It's a habitual thing. So you'd be better off to practice your guitar for like 2 minutes a day, maybe 5 minutes, than you would be to practice for half an hour a week. It's going to stack. And that 5 minutes a day, what does that become? 35 minutes a week. You've been doing it every single day. It becomes part of your whole routine. It becomes part of your daily movements. The thing that you do all of the time. It's like, well, what do I do? Oh, I wake up and I play guitar for 5 minutes. Cool. When you look back in a year's time, you're going to be able to say that, well, that is the thing that I'm good at because I spent every single day on it. This is another thing. It's another rabbit hole. We'll go into it next video. The whole concept of the thoughts and everything that we repeat to ourselves, they just become more solid. So this is why negative thoughts, people tend to run to alcohol or devices or to any form of thing to really stop themselves from confronting what's actually there. And most people believe those thoughts, and I did for a long time. The negative thoughts were like, you suck, you're really bad. And it's like, okay, sure. What are you going to do about it? And so now it's like, well, I'm going to replace those thoughts. And we can replace it by taking action on things, simply doing things. And there are a lot more things. Things like meditation, which are really good. Doesn't really clear away the negative thoughts sometimes though. We'll go into a few things next video. For now, I'm off to do day 2 of this big event that I've been attending. So I will see you guys tomorrow. See you later.